use them. I've had actually some very spiritual people uh, get an entity attachment from doing automatic writing, where they were tricked
Really?
by because you ask for them to come in. There's an agreement for them to come into your space, especially with things like the automatic writing, the Ouija board. It's
Where they're
I'm
using
asked.
you.
Well, no, because we're going, all right, so think of the Ouija board. It's like you're asking a question, but you're asking the spirits, tell me something,
Hmm.
tell me something. And you get the answer, and the answer seems good and uplifting and positive and right. You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
then they start getting dependent on the answers that they're receiving through this oracle, and then it will start to change. So if you're just like with your friends and you got the Ouija board and you're like, oh, look, the thing is moving. Yeah, probably not going to get an entity attachment. But if you are relying on it and there's this like dependence on, you know, that you're going to get something from it, much higher chance of something like that happening.
Can that happen like if somebody is throwing their own tarot? The same thing, like inviting that
I would
guidance?
I would think so on some levels, but with Ouija boards and automatic writing in particular, the act is looking for an answer from the outside. Now,
Okay.
where it does scare me, and I am always very clear about this, there are individuals who will remain nameless, uh, who will tell you if you're in a bad place, calling your angels.
Right.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Because now you've just said, hey, I'm in a really crappy place. My energy is really low. I got no boundaries because I feel like crap. And I'm going to let anything invisible come into my space. Don't do it.
I had
That is the
not
worst
recognized
piece
that
of
vulnerability
advice.
before you said that.
I mean, if you're in a high vibrating place, you're going to have boundaries. If you just got your butt chewed out or you lost your job or, whatever just takes you to that ugly place that we all go to sometimes,
Hmm.
and you're calling to angels to come help you, because it's always about, I'm looking for help, the automatic, I'm looking for information. And so you're bringing it in. You're consciously bringing it in. Where tarot cards, it's not quite that. It's a different kind of mindset. And so with calling in the angels or the automatic writing, if you're doing that in a bad place, which is usually why people do stuff like that.
I have a friend who does it simply for research,
Hmm.
and I still have an issue with it. And she knows that. I mean, I'm not talking out of turn, but
Hmm.
I don't like giving control.
Hmm.
I don't like letting anything else have control.
Um, but if you're in a bad place and you do that, so you might call in an entity because, an angel is an entity. It's a spirit that doesn't have a body. So it
Yes.
still falls in that category. So their vibration might be a couple of steps higher than yours and is a little bit better than yours. So it seems positive and bright, but you're in a crappy place.
Yes.
So then you go back to your regular high vibrating place, and now you have some low level negative spirit that you just created a relationship with. So please don't call in angels. And people are like, but I only call in Michael. It's like, how do you know it's Michael, the archangel? It
That's
might
how I
be
feel about any kind of divination or communication because
on
you
that
don't know
level.
who you're talking to.
Hmm. You don't. And they lie and they trick. And it might be Michael, but it might be Michael, the pedophile guy who, is now dead and he's hanging around. I mean, you don't know.
Yes.
And so I just don't do it. And, I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, well, I work with this. And it's like, whatever. My believability meter goes, "Brrr." Brr.
Well, you spend an awful lot of time researching and educating yourself on this too. So I would trust your meter. But my question is that there are angels. I know that a couple of different people that I know who are psychic and work say that they work with them and such feel like they have archangels that interact with them and their energy is pretty high.
And I don't, and again,
Where do you
I'm
find,
not dissing anybody,
but where do you find the line?
in
I
your
mean,
heart,
huh?
in your heart.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I've known people. I mean, I've been, doing psychic work for a long time, know a lot of people in multiple states. And, where's the person coming from? I think that's the bigger thing. Are they coming from light? And are they
Right.
coming from a place of integrity and coming from their heart? Or are they coming from ego? There are people that channel, quote unquote, that my believability meter is like, I don't think so. I'm not feeling it. Or are
Yes.
mediums, and it's like I'm just not feeling it. So if you tell me that you're working with the angels, it's like, am I feeling it? Mm. But then there are other people, like I worked with this one guy, or we both worked at this one metaphysical bookstore at the same time, and we were just both in the same room, and he was a full body channel. And if he was working with this one gentleman, I don't remember their names, literally, and I would watch, he would bring the spirit in, and as the spirit went further and further into his body, his back would twist, and he would make this kind of like really distorted, like mega scoliosis, crippled thing with his body, and like lean on his elbow and talk. And the spirit came in probably just below the groin. It came in that far into his body. And then he had another spirit that would come in, and would come in to about his heart area, so part of the way into his chest. And so one day I just made a comment. It's like, oh, so you're working with so-and-so today. And he just looked at me and he goes, well, how can you tell? And so I described what I saw, of him going into this positioning. He wasn't even aware he was doing that.
Oh, wow.
So to me, that guy was real. If you're just talking and your voice changes, and I don't see a spirit come into you, or a connection to spirit, or a spirit next to you.
Exactly. Well, this is resonating with our chat room greatly.
Good.
So
Good.
thank you for that. But, I just find it so fascinating that I can't tell you the number of people that I know who call on Archangel Michael to come and battle the negativity with them and all these other things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this has got to be a busy guy. He's getting called on from everywhere. So, I have struggles with that sometimes. Personally.
Yeah, and I mean, I never work with the archangels. When I go to an investigation, people are like, well, do you do a prayer before you go in and do this clearing thing? And it's like, no. I kind of ground myself and center myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go. And then depending on the place, when I leave, if it's bad, I might do some clearing.
Right.
But for the most part, it's like, no.
Well, I have had to cleanse when I left a place. But I generally I have my own things that I do for my protection, and then I go. I don't make a big production out of it, but B, it's what works for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what everyone does or should do, because you've got to have some sort of a methodology in place to kind of get your mind into the groove to start.
Mm-hmm.
Or I do. I like methodology.
Right, but your methodology is your methodology, and you're not just like reciting some canned prayer.
No, I don't do
that
canned
somebody
prayers.
told. But you know what I'm saying?
I
Because
do.
it's like, oh, well, but I say this prayer. It's like, yes, so. If there's nothing to it. You're just like blah, 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 which is like.
No, I like my personal relationships.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
me
that's
too.
That's what works for me. And, Tom Conwell says that you're going to have to come back to talk about the ancients. So he could listen to that forever. So obviously he's heard you do that. We'll do that.
Tom and I are very good friends.
He's a wonderful man.
Tom.
Yeah.
I'm waving at you, Tom. Just saying.
Yeah, he's one of those special people.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. I love him to pieces. And I love his books too, because I do not see how he had the patience to sit down and go through all that data.
Yeah, no kidding.
That is not my forte, and he is so very good at it. He said, "Hey, back."
Okay, I got a big smile on my face. See, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're fixing to be at the top, not the top of the hour, but the time for our break. So this one's only 2 minutes, and this is going to be a piece of music called Iron Horse from Purple Planet Music. Thanks to them. We love them. They let us use all this music. And we will be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away. We're going to have our final segment with Dr. Rita Louise. See you in 2.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. And just like that, we're back. I am so glad that y'all are here for this final segment, because from what I'm seeing in chat, y'all are loving this. Who wouldn't, right? And Rita, thank you for being so amazing. They are just loving your information.
Thank you, chat room and everybody listening.
But, we were talking about attached entities, and then we were talking about people who just call in anything to come and help them in their time of need. They think they're being specific, and when you're vulnerable is not a time to be inviting something in, as we were discussing. What would you suggest somebody who is